All right, let's talk about something that is going to completely change the way you take photos from this day forward. I'm serious. We are about to pull back the curtain on the single biggest lie your camera has been telling you.
So let me ask you this. Have you ever been out shooting, you take a photo, you look at the little screen on the back, and you think, nailed it, that's perfect, only to get it on your computer and realize it's way too dark or totally blown out and bright? If that sounds familiar, you've probably wondered, is my camera messing with me?
And the answer is a big, resounding yes, it is. It's not your fault. You're not going crazy. The screen on your camera has been misleading you. And today, we're going to show you how to finally see the truth.
So here's the game plan. First, we'll expose the camera's biggest lie. Then, I'll introduce you to your new best friend, your secret exposure tool. After that, we'll figure out how to decode the data it shows you. And finally, we'll break it down into 5 simple zones so you can master every single shot. Okay, let's dive right in. The number one culprit, the source of all this confusion and so many ruined photos, is the one thing we all instinctively trust, that little LCD screen on the back of the camera.
Just think about it for a second. That screen is totally subjective. If you're out in the bright sun, you have to crank the brightness way up just to see it, right? That makes your photo look brighter than it actually is. The real data, though, the ones and zeros your camera actually captured, that's objective. It's the cold, hard truth, and it doesn't care if it's sunny or cloudy.
And look, this isn't just a small thing. Trusting that preview screen is, as our source material puts it, a massive trap that ruins photos. And here's why that's so serious. If your photo is too bright, if it's overexposed, that detail in the bright areas is just gone. Poof, forever. You can't magically bring it back with editing software. It is a permanent mistake. But okay, that's the bad news. The good news, your camera has a secret weapon. It has a built-in truth detector that the pros absolutely swear by. So it's time we stop falling for the lie and meet the hero of this story. Everybody, meet the histogram. Now, I know, it looks like some intimidating math graph, right? But I promise you, it's super simple. Just think of it like a bar chart for all the light in your photograph. It literally just shows you a map of all the tones you've captured, from the darkest darks to the brightest brights. It doesn't have an opinion, it just gives you the facts. So how do we actually read this thing? It's way easier than it looks. In this next part, we're going to break it down so you can understand what you're seeing in like a single glance. The magic number you need to know is 256. That's it. See, the histogram is really just 256 tiny little vertical bars all lined up. The bar all the way on the left, that represents pure absolute black. And the bar all the way on the right, that's pure absolute white. Everything in between is just a different shade of gray. The taller a bar is, the more of that specific tone you have in your picture. Okay, trying to think about 256 different bars is a lot, so let's make it way more practical. We can just chop that graph up into 5 main zones. And if you can master these 5 zones, you basically have a roadmap to a perfect photo every single time. So just reading from left to right, here's how it breaks down. On the far, far left, you've got your blacks, the absolute darkest points in the image. Next to that are the shadows, which are dark, but you can still see some detail. Right in the middle, you have your midtones, and that's usually where most of the important information in your photo lives. Then moving to the right, you get the bright parts, the highlights. And finally, on the far right edge, you have your pure whites. And this is where it all clicks. If you see a big mountain of data piled up on the left side of the graph, your photo is probably underexposed, meaning it's too dark. If that mountain is pushed all the way to the right, it's likely overexposed or too bright. But here is the most important rule of all. If the data is literally smashed up against either wall, the far left or the far right, that's called clipping. And that means you have lost all of that detail forever. So your goal is to get a nice balanced shape that isn't crashing into either side. So what's the one big takeaway here? It's this. The screen on your camera shows you a pretty picture, a guess. The histogram shows you the truth. And by learning to read this simple graph, you are giving yourself a guarantee that you'll capture all the possible detail in every single photo you take. No more lost highlights. So there you have it. You're officially in on the secret. You know the camera's biggest lie, but more importantly, you now have the tool to see the truth. The only question left is, now that you have this power to nail your exposure every single time, what are you going to go out there and create?